Adam Smith was an 18th century Scottish economist, philosopher, and author, widely regarded as the father of economics or the father of capitalism. Born in 1723 in Kirkcaldy, Scotland, Smith pursued studies at the University of Glasgow and later at Oxford. He is best known for his contributions to economic thought and his exploration of moral philosophy. His most famous work, An Inquiry into the Nature and Causes of the Wealth of Nations, published in 1776, laid foundational principles for modern economics, including the idea that free markets can regulate themselves through what he described as the invisible hand of competition. Smith's works and ideas, particularly around laissez-faire economics and individual self-interest in market behavior, had a significant impact on later economists and the development of capitalist economies. The Wealth of Nations is a comprehensive examination of economic systems, trade, labor, and the ways societies create and distribute wealth. Smith's book argues that individuals working in their own self-interest unintentionally contribute to the public good, as their actions create supply, meet demand, and drive the economy forward. Smith details how competition within free markets naturally leads to price stability and efficiency in the allocation of resources, resulting in fairer outcomes than those produced by controlled or monopolistic markets. He also highlights the importance of labor specialization and the division of labor, which increases productivity and fosters economic growth. Throughout, Smith is critical of mercantilism, the dominant economic theory of his time, which focused on wealth accumulation through trade restrictions and tariffs. Instead, he advocated for free trade and minimal government intervention in markets. The Wealth of Nations explores themes that remain central to economics: how self-interest drives economic progress, the efficiency of market competition, and the benefits of a free market system. Smith believed that when people are allowed to pursue their own economic goals, they inadvertently promote collective prosperity, provided that there is fair competition. The work also addresses the complexities of wage determination, the impact of government policies on economies, and the moral implications of economic systems. The principles set forth in this book laid the groundwork for economic theories of capitalism, and its influence can be seen in the foundations of Western economic policies today. In his statement that corn growing next to a city town will sell at the same price as corn coming from a faraway place, Smith was illustrating a core concept of economic equilibrium in his seminal work, The Wealth of Nations. This simple statement speaks to how markets stabilize prices, showing that the price of goods in a competitive market tends to align across distances as long as factors like transportation costs, quality, and supply remain consistent. Here, corn represents any common staple or commodity, and the analogy holds for various products in markets governed by the laws of supply and demand. Smith's observation implies that even though one batch of corn is closer to the town than another, the market price evens out because of competition. If corn grown a mile from town were significantly cheaper, everyone would buy it over the corn grown further away, increasing demand and driving up its price until it matched the price of corn from farther away. Conversely, the price of the corn 20 miles away might decrease if people preferred the closer option, aligning the two prices. This balancing effect shows how markets naturally adjust due to buyers and sellers responding to demand, scarcity, and competition. In Smith's view, this tendency for prices to stabilize is part of the invisible hand of the market. The invisible hand is a metaphor for the self-regulating nature of a free market. Sellers are driven to provide goods at prices that cover costs and attract buyers, while buyers seek the best value for their money. As each individual acts in their own self-interest, the market, in effect, coordinates these actions to establish fair prices that benefit the whole economy. In Smith's example, the forces of the invisible hand work to make sure that the price of corn is fair and reasonable, regardless of its source. Transportation plays a subtle but significant role in this dynamic. Although corn from farther away incurs greater costs to bring to market, competition among farmers and traders keeps the prices in line. If transportation costs were prohibitively high, the prices might diverge significantly. However, in a well-connected market, These costs are often absorbed or distributed across other factors. In Smith's time, markets were often local, and the costs of moving goods from 20 miles away, while notable, were manageable enough that competition could still equalize prices. This process also highlights how prices convey information in the market. If the price of corn remains the same, regardless of distance, it signals to the farmers and traders that the market is stable and that consumers are willing to pay that particular price. This gives producers confidence in setting their own prices and in deciding how much corn to grow and bring to the city. Thus, the alignment of prices is not merely a reflection of costs, but an indication of the balance between supply and demand across the entire market. Smith's point also reflects the role of competition in resource allocation. The farmer who lives closer to the city has a potential advantage in transportation costs, but because of market competition, they cannot overcharge for their corn compared to others. If they tried, consumers would turn to the more distant sources of corn, and the closer farmer would be forced to lower their price. This principle ensures that resources, in this case corn, are efficiently allocated, as prices motivate suppliers to bring goods to the market at competitive prices. Moreover, this example illustrates how market forces prevent monopolistic pricing. If one producer attempted to monopolize the corn market by raising prices, other producers would step in to offer a better deal. The competition from farmers farther away ensures that no single farmer or group of farmers within a close range of the town can unduly influence the market price. This dynamic underscores the efficiency of free markets in Smith's view, where competition prevents exploitation and fosters fair pricing. This principle still applies today in globalized markets. Although modern transportation has reduced many cost differences, prices for similar goods, like gasoline or staple foods, still align closely across regions due to the same forces Smith described. If one supplier tries to raise prices excessively, consumers will switch to alternatives, thus forcing prices to stay competitive. Smith's observation is thus a timeless commentary on how competition in a free market works to level out prices and promote fairness. Smith's statement also subtly acknowledges the role of choice in economic decision-making. Buyers are rational actors who compare prices and make decisions based on perceived value. This constant evaluation by consumers puts pressure on suppliers to offer fair prices and good quality. In a competitive market, this demand for fair pricing becomes a natural control mechanism that keeps sellers in check, reinforcing the stable price for corn in Smith's example. Smith's example serves as a reminder of the simplicity and effectiveness of market principles. While economic systems can seem complex, Smith believed that basic principles like competition, supply, and demand are universally powerful. The stable price of corn, whether grown a mile or 20 miles away, is not just about corn or distance. It is about how markets create order, efficiency, and fairness naturally, without the need for central control. This insight is foundational to modern economic thought and underscores the enduring relevance of Smith's work. But Adam Smith's position on corn prices and the market faces several criticisms when examined through the lens of modern economics, which reveal its limitations and areas where real-world complexities can challenge his idea. First, one criticism of Smith's statement is that it oversimplifies the role of transportation costs in pricing. In practice, the cost of transporting goods can vary widely due to factors such as fuel prices, road infrastructure, and geographical barriers. In cases where transportation costs are significant, they are usually passed on to the consumer, making the final price dependent on distance. This is evident in global markets today, where goods are often priced higher in remote areas due to the costs of logistics. Critics argue that Smith's statement does not accurately capture how distance-related costs affect prices, which are often higher the further a product has to travel, especially in less connected regions. Another limitation is that Smith's view does not account for variations in demand between urban and rural areas. In real-world markets, demand fluctuates based on factors like population density, income levels, and local preferences. For example, corn might fetch a higher price in a city with a scarcity of it, regardless of where it is grown, or in an area where corn is highly valued as a staple. Market demand, therefore, can lead to price differences between the same product based on the preferences and economic conditions of different areas. Smith's assumption that prices would automatically balance out ignores how demand dynamics impact prices in specific locations. Smith's statement also does not account for market imperfections, such as monopolistic or oligopolistic control. In many modern markets, a few large suppliers or distributors often control pricing, making it difficult for competitive forces to equalize prices, as Smith suggested. For instance, if a single corporation controls the majority of the corn supply, it could set prices independently of local costs or transportation fees, meaning that corn prices would not align naturally based on distance. In this way, Smith's idea of balanced prices may be too idealized, as monopolistic practices in contemporary economies often prevent competitive pricing from emerging. Furthermore, Smith's statement overlooks the impact of subsidies and government policies on pricing. In many countries, agricultural products like corn receive government subsidies or support, influencing prices independently of market forces. These subsidies can make prices artificially low or stable in urban areas, where demand is higher, while rural or distant areas may experience more price fluctuation. This creates a scenario in which the price of corn does not solely depend on distance or competition, but rather on policy interventions that distort natural pricing mechanisms. Critics argue that Smith's assumption of free market forces aligning prices does not apply well in modern markets, where government intervention is common. Smith's concept also assumes that producers act solely in response to competition and market dynamics, but modern supply chains and market logistics have created complexities that prevent this simplicity. For instance, wholesalers, retailers, and transport companies each add markups to the product price, often resulting in variations that reflect organizational structures and profit margins more than competitive pricing. This layered process challenges Smith's idea that the corn's price should stabilize regardless of distance. Modern pricing is influenced by various intermediaries in the supply chain, meaning that even small changes in transport costs, market conditions, or intermediary pricing strategies can lead to significant price disparities. While Smith's statement captures an idealized version of how prices might stabilize through market competition, current economic conditions show that distance, demand variation, monopolistic practices, subsidies, and supply chain complexities introduce factors that prevent uniform pricing across regions. These criticisms highlight how real-world market conditions complicate the straightforward price equilibrium Smith envisioned.